Be curious. So I would say speak to your relative, really try and get under the skin of why they don't want care.
You're listening to the Care Podcast, brought to you by Unique Senior Care. We're here to share honest, practical conversations to help you navigate care. And in these episodes, we're welcoming Lucy, our Director of People. Lucy has a wealth of experience in the care industry, specifically around people management, finding, recruiting and training the right carers for outstanding care. Thank you so much for joining us, Lucy. We were talking in last episode about the importance of communication, and what a huge element of good care that is. And you've talked about the importance of listening, but how do we tell that someone is really listening well and deeply and actively?
Yeah, so listening is hugely important. It's never making any assumptions around the client. It's all about getting them involved in their care, asking them lots of questions. So little things like nodding, we know that people are listening, not interrupting. And for me, it's acting upon the client's wishes, so acting upon what they've said. So it's the small actions that you do kind of at the request of the client that show that you've got, really good listening skills. And I was always told you've got 2 ears and a mouth for a reason. So it's making sure that you really listen, and you read the kind of the signs of the room.
And what about in terms of listening if the person is going through some emotional struggles? What do you think is the most important element there?
So I think it's, looking at verbal and non-verbal cues. I think it's, checking in with them regularly. I think, what's important is if you're still concerned, to reach out and seek help, via your manager, or if there's a good connection with the family members as well. But it's acting upon it. So you've got to read the room when you're going in. You're looking at the client. Is everything well kept? Are there signs that actually things are a bit messy when normally it would be nice and tidy? So twofold, listening to what they say verbally, and then looking for the cues that you would see around the house as well, and always acting on it. So if you say you're going to do something, do it, and keeping the client involved at every single stage as well.
Yeah, so it's not enough just to listen and be there for the person. It's then about that team approach that you go back and you share.
Absolutely.
That someone's struggling, or you make sure the other carers going in are aware of that as well.
And that's the communication. So it's making sure that everybody collectively involved, is informed. So when they next have, they meet the client or the relative, they know actually, oh yes, Mrs. Bourne might be like this today because there was an anniversary or something happened, or she's on new medication, so she might be impacted by something else that's happened, or there was a visit from a family member and she's always a bit low after the family members have gone. So really important.
So listening to other people
as
much
as other people,
to the
absolutely.
Themselves.
Yeah, really important. So it's that full, all-encompassing kind of like, looking at everything that's involved and that world of the client as well.
And sometimes we see people that are quite resistant to care.
Absolutely, yeah.
How can listening be a key in situations like that?
So I think it's, finding out what's the most important thing to them. It's trying to understand the objections and trying to collectively come up with a reason to, mitigate those and to make the person feel less anxious. But having that deep understanding of, the client, their wishes, and if there's anything that they're objecting to, how we can work collectively and together to combat those. And again, it's those small actions. We're not going to go in and like a whirlwind and change everything, but it might be just small steps. One thing might just be, okay, I'm going to make you a cup of tea, or I'm going to cook your favourite food, and it's building that trust. Small interactions, small actions, day by day.
And how can we be sure that a carer is listening for feedback as well? So if they're getting to know someone, or even over the longer term, what would that look like when they're really listening and trying to improve on the care they provide?
Yeah, so I think actively, if it's appropriate, they'll be speaking to the client. We've got the care plan, but care plans evolve and they change, so it's constantly talking with the client, What else would need to change? Is there anything that I can do differently? So it's just how you kind of phrase it. And then you'd have, supervisions with your manager, always, trying to say, what else can I do better? Is there anything else that I need to learn or develop on? So it's constantly seeking that continuous improvement that's really important. And again, it can be really small things. It doesn't have to be this big grand qualification. It can just be small incremental, tasks or experience that you've got that will make all the difference.
And if there is a challenging time, a moment when perhaps someone's distressed or it's difficult to provide the care.
Yeah.
What kind of listening and how can a carer respond in those times?
You've got to be really agile and adaptive. You need to respond, in that instance. Sometimes it might be taking a step back and giving the client space just to allow them to, kind of calm down a little bit if they've got the anxiety. Just that change of, or do you want me to put the kettle on? So sometimes distracting them as well. So again, it's in the actions that they do with the client, could be non-verbal, that will make a big difference to them.
And perhaps if there's a specific situation, the carer's gone in there to give medication or to help someone have a wash, and that person is not wanting that help.
Yeah.
Where does listening come in those kind of times?
So I think it's, trying to understand the objections again. So if it's not the right time, for a shower, that's going to be movable. Medications, depending on if they're time dependent, is different because it might be that they have to have it on time. So it's going in, it's asking questions, maybe coming up with some, solutions for the client and being led by them.
Yeah, being led by them. I love that. It's all about where are they at?
Yes.
How can I support them in whatever is happening for them?
Absolutely, yeah.
What can happen if someone just kind of pushes ahead and says, right, I'm here to get this done?
That you could break the relationship, because that for me is when the trust would go. So if you're not, being agile and adapting to what the client needs, you're just going in like a bit of a bulldozer and it's time to have your shower now, I've got to do this. It's not a professional approach. It doesn't breathe compassion and respect. I think respect's really important, and that for me would be terrible.
Yeah. And again, I suppose the carer putting themselves in the shoes of that person that actually,
Of course
maybe I wouldn't want someone to help me.
Yeah.
This is a new situation, or I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Or
could be it's cold. Again, you need to find out the reasons why. So it's really important that you're in collaboration with the client. It's a team.
Yeah. So what about a situation where perhaps, I see my mum, she's struggling, she needs some help. And from my point of view, I'm like, right, care. I've found a great care company. This is the answer. We need someone to go in, build a relationship and help with washing, dressing, medication, food prep. But what about if actually mum is resistant and she doesn't want any of that?
Yeah.
I see this problem. I love my mum. I want to fix the problem. How might listening be applied in that kind of context?
So I think it's really important that you have those conversations and almost start them early as well. So thinking of my mum, she wants to be able to live at home. She's adapted the house. She wants caregivers. So it's having those conversations early, listening to the wants, the wishes, the desires of your relatives, really important. Sometimes there can be a complete difference. You're saying that you want this. Your mum is saying that you want this, and actually person-centred care is all around what the person wants. And then I think it's a balance, and I think it's taking them on that journey to say, could we explore what care could look like? Because some people think it's somebody living in their house 24 hours a day, when actually when you say, oh no, we could just start with 1 hour a day, see how you get on, what would you need help with? I need help with cooking a meal once a day, and I'd love to go out somewhere and they could do that. So it's just being really mindful that we all have these different perceptions of what care can look like, and we shouldn't make a judgment. But I say the important thing is getting them, involved in the conversations. We can't force people, but ultimately, if you're talking to them and saying, these are the reasons that I thought of care, maybe that might help with some of the understanding. But I say it's different it's helping them have an awareness of what care might look like. And it might be companionship. It might be going out and going to a memory cafe. It might be going out to the library. It might be help with shopping. So care is like a really big umbrella word, isn't it? And there's lots of different sections in it. So it's helping people be educated so they can make informed decisions. But yeah, you've got to listen to your family member.
Yeah, because otherwise they probably will just
they'll shut down. Yes,
and that's it.
Absolutely, and I would do the same.
Yeah.
When my kids are trying to get care for me, if I'm saying no, I'd go so far the other way that I'd be a bit of a stick in the mud.
Yeah,
but they have the best intentions, so I think if the intent is good, then it's just keeping those conversations.
What would be your one takeaway on this topic of listening?
So listening is always a two-way thing. Be curious. So I would say speak to your relative. Really try and get under the skin of why they don't want care, and get like a comprehensive understanding, because then that will help you as well. So, and you have to be mindful that you don't just go and take over. You've got to really listen to their thoughts, their concerns, any apprehension that they might have, and then work together. But it all starts with listening. Very important.
Thank you to everyone for listening. We hope that this episode has given you some confidence, practical advice and reassurance about navigating your own care journey. I've been Jo Cleary, host of the Care Podcast. We hope that you'll join us next time.